Hey, let's talk about the brand new coaching staff for the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to lay it all out for you, super organized. We'll also touch on Kyler Murray, his recovery time, and a little bit about where we stand with Deandre Hopkins. Let's get into it.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Kelly Singh.
Murray heaves it downfield. It's caught. It is caught. Deandre Hopkins. Miraculous. It's Murray magic.
The sickest Arizona Cardinals podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Sick Podcast with Kelly Singh, the sickest Arizona Cardinals podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Singh. You can find me on Twitter at KellyInPhoenix. I really just want to jump right into this because ever since we hired our new GM, Monty Austin-Fort, long-awaited hire, I have been filling in the blanks on a little org chart for you. I've been keeping track all week long as things have been developing day by day, hour by hour. I didn't add Monty to this org chart, but I'll tell you a little bit about him in case you missed out on some of the background. He's 45 years old. It's his 22nd season in the NFL. Monty began his career as an intern for the Vikings in 2001. And he came to us from the Titans, where he was the director of player personnel for the last 3 or so years. So now, here's my handy dandy chart. Ta-da! Isn't it beautiful? I've started it off with our new head coach, Jonathan Gannon. He's 40 years old and comes to us from Philadelphia. Yes, the Eagles, the same Eagles who went to the Super Bowl. He was defensive coordinator for the Eagles. Obviously, he helped lead them to that Super Bowl. And in his new role as the Cardinals head coach, it appears that he's quickly developing key relationships with the players and appears to be very well liked so far. Next, defensive coordinator Nick Rallis. From what I'm reading, he is a very ambitious young man. Emphasize the young, 29 years old. He is the youngest coordinator in the league. He's looking forward to making his mark, obviously, and rising up through the ranks. He spent the last 2 seasons working under Gannon in Philadelphia as a linebackers coach. The friendly relationships don't stop there. There's a lot of intertwining, which is why I've built this chart. Next, we're looking at Drew Petzing, the new offensive coordinator. The 35-year-old comes to us from the Browns, where he was first the tight end coach and then became the quarterback coach. Again, here's another past connection. Petzing worked with Rallis on staff with the Vikings for 2 seasons in 2018 and 2019. Moving on, Jeff Rogers, special teams coordinator, not new to the team. In fact, he is the only coach who remains with the team, it appears, in this lineup at least. So Jeff Rogers is the special teams coordinator, 44 years old, 21 years of coaching experience, with 18 of them being on special teams. He has been with the Cardinals, working with special teams as the coordinator since 2018 and is remaining on board. Next, we have Drew Terrell. He is the new passing game coordinator for the Cardinals and comes to us from the Washington Commanders. At 31 years old, he spent 2 seasons, it appears, in DC as the wide receivers coach. Here's kind of what's exciting for fans. Drew is an Arizona native. Born and raised, played football at Hamilton High in Chandler before going off to Stanford, where he was part of 4 consecutive bowl teams, winning the Pac-12 championship and the Rose Bowl as their leading receiver in 2012. So he's got on-field experience, which is always the back and forth between the alphas in the NFL community. You can't be a coach if you haven't played the game. I disagree with that, but I do love to see that we have a homegrown player who has moved up to coaching staff and is now here back home at the Cardinals. Next, new quarterback coach, Israel Wolfork. He is taking on his very first NFL coaching position here with the Cardinals. I really like this because he was previously learning under the Browns as the recipient of the Bill Willis Coaching Fellowship. This fellowship allows minorities to take on roles within a team, learn, and move up through the ranks. I love it. I love that he was selected as that 2021 recipient, and now he's been hand-selected by the Cardinals offensive coordinator Drew Petzing to come on as staff. And while the Browns are losing a couple of staff members and the Eagles are losing a couple of staff members, the Cardinals are definitely picking up new talent. I've got 2 more to go. Next up, Clayton Adams, offensive line coach. The 40-year-old has been with the Colts since 2019. He has been their offensive line coach. And the Colts were a fantastic rushing team under his leadership. Is he going to bring that style of play to Arizona? I mean, I guess we're just going to have to see, aren't we? Finally, the new tight end coach, Ben Steele. Prior to coming to us, Steele spent 2022 as the assistant offensive line coach for the Broncos. So there you have it. There has been plenty additional movement as it relates to the assistants under this new coaching staff, but it would take me forever to go through it all. Just know this, obviously, there's been a lot of thought and planning into building out this new team. It's not a new thing for a new coach to bring on people he's worked with in the past and for those people to bring on people they've worked with in the past. What I do like is there's a lot of new young blood, people getting their first chances, people moving up and getting promotions. I really like it. I enjoy seeing that. It actually motivates me as a fan, inspires me into thinking that this is a year of rebuilding, yes, but it's sure going to be fun to watch. I think so, at least. Michael Bidwell also thinks so. Yesterday, Bidwell was on a local radio and podcast, AZ Sports, discussing his feelings about last season and the team. A little talk therapy, if you will, saying that the season was extremely disappointing. As of now, he is far more optimistic, though, saying we have ripped the Band-Aid off. It was wholesale changes, and we're really pleased with where we've ended up. He also appeared on the Dave Pasch podcast with an update on Kyler Murray, saying, I think his return is going to be earlier than mid-season. So hopefully it's towards the beginning of the season, but I don't want to put any specific dates. I find this really, really interesting considering that just a week ago, Ian Rappaport had shared what we were all thinking, at least what I was thinking for sure, that Kyler would be taking his time to recover and not be rushing back to play. This is an expensive asset. He's a young guy. Yes, he's going to heal quickly, but do we want to put him right back into the lion's den? Bidwell says that it's sooner than we think. I'm hoping that we just make sure he's 100%, It's kind of my thought. In the meantime, Bidwell says it's unclear who will take over while Kyler is out healing. He's quoted as saying, "We'll see exactly what the plan is. It's not up for me to figure out. It's for those guys to figure out." Those guys are obviously the new GM and coaching staff. But as far as head coach Jonathan Gannon is concerned, he noted at a press conference on Thursday, the 23rd, that he has structured everything around Kyler Murray in choosing his offensive coordinator. So that alone should probably put to bed rumors that are swirling that Kyler Murray could be up for a trade. I've heard those bouncing around. I think they're silly. The whole reason Gannon came here to Arizona was to play with Kyler Murray, and that's how he's built out his staff as well. What are your thoughts on the topic of Kyler Murray's return? Please tweet at me at Kelly in Phoenix or at the pod at SickPodKelly. Let us know what you think, and maybe I'll use your quote on the next show. Lastly, on my little docket of topics today, I want to take a quick look at what's new in the discussion around Deandre Hopkins. When we brought on GM Monty Ossenfort, he met with Hopkins right away. They said it was a positive meeting. And then following that meeting, Hopkins put out a commercial spot for his new hat collection and really heavily emphasized his home being with the Cardinals. So right then and there, people were like, that's it, that solves it. He's staying here in Arizona. I would love to believe that. The truth of the matter is the discussion on whether or not Hopkins stays is still in the early phases of discussion. And I quote, Ossenfort appeared on AZ Sports, Bickley, and Murata saying, "We're in the early stages of evaluating that, but I'm excited D-Hop is on the team with me right now." Right now? He is. He's still on the team. Seems positive. I'm not sure what Hopkins' thoughts and feelings are on this. He's 31 years old. The team is obviously rebuilding. I hope that we hear soon what's going to become of it. I would hate to lose Hopkins, but I also want to see him succeed. He deserves it. So let's see what happens, but that's where we're at. That's where we are right now. So how do I keep up on all this? I read a lot, and most of my info comes from friend of the pod, Cardinals beat reporter Donnie Druin. You can find him on Twitter at Donnie Druin. You can find his writing at si.com/NFL/Cardinals. The guy writes constantly, always breaking news, and that's how I stay in the loop too. Now, if you could do me a favor, hit like on this episode, share this episode, but most importantly, if you could make sure you're subscribed, I would really, really, really appreciate it. My production staff and I have been working on this show since prior to the season beginning in 2022. We continued weekly with 2 shows a week during this season. I've moved to 1 show a week in the off season. And of course, we're ramping up again for season 2 of the Sick Podcast with Kelly Singh, the sickest Arizona Cardinals podcast. So I appreciate your support so much as we're heading into season 2. That's about it. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next week. Bye.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Kelly Singh on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.